All right, so this week we are talking about digestion because I feel like a lot of people just kind of don't pay attention to it, and they're used to being bloated, they're used to being either constipated, loose stools, heartburn. They just get used to that kind of stuff, and it doesn't have to be that way. So I think another really key factor in learning how to be healthy is the education behind it, because education drives compliance. If you know why this food is really helping you feel better, then I feel like it's much easier to stick to this type of routine. So we're going to talk about that in your bonus topic this week. All right, so step one, first thing that we need to learn is digestion is a north to south process. So if something is wrong up here, it's only going to get worse as it goes down. So to start, most people think digestion starts in the mouth. It really starts in the brain. So like I said, when we were talking about how to eat properly, we need to set the scene with the brain. We need to make sure that our body knows that we are about to digest food. So your brain can send the signals down the cascade to, secrete the proper digestive enzymes, digestive juices, so everything else can go really well. If our brain's not on board, if it's not sending the right signals, if we're not in the right state of mind, if we are rushing, if we're super stressed, if we're just gobbling food as we're, driving down the highway, it's not going to be as good. All right, so once we've set the scene, hopefully we're really calm. We are in that parasympathetic state. We are not stressed. We're eating outside. We're taking our time. We're chewing our food. So the brain is on board. Also, another way the brain works is smelling our food, cooking our food. We know what's coming. I mean, everybody probably knows the feeling when we walk into our grandma's house and she's been baking and you just start salivating. And that is a sign that your brain is getting ready for food. It smells the delicious food. Your mouth starts to water, right? So that's a good indication that our brain is on board with this, right? So we start salivating. All those digestive juices in our mouth are going. Our stomachs start to rumble. So at the mouth, we start to break down carbohydrates and fats primarily. The stomach is the primary location for digesting protein, but we secrete a little bit of salivary amylase. Amylase breaks down carbohydrates, and lipase, lingual lipase, breaks down fats. And then from hopefully our mouth, we chewed our food really, really well. And so it's in small liquidish pieces. It's going down to our stomach through our esophagus. Once it gets to the stomach should be very acidic. So I think stomach acid gets a bad rap because of, GERD and heartburn and, reflux and all that kind of stuff. But our stomach is supposed to be acidic. If you know the pH scale, it's from 1 to 3 is ideal for the stomach because it needs to be that acidic so it can break down our protein, so it can sterilize our food. So in case we ingest some pathogenic bacteria, if our stomach acid is not secreted in sufficient amounts, we can potentially let a bad bacteria into our microbiome, potentially causing food poisoning or just some dysbiosis later on as well. So really important that our stomach is properly acidic. We also need the stomach to be very acidic, so the other enzyme called pepsin can be created in sufficient amounts. If the stomach is not acidic enough, that enzyme, pepsin, is not produced in the correct form. So then again, we won't digest our protein. So we're putting all this good food in, but we're not digesting it. So again, everything has to be functioning properly. So after the stomach, hopefully we've had a sufficient amount of HCl or stomach acid and pepsinogen. So we call it kind of the burn and churn. So our stomach does have a muscular layer to it. So we're kind of churning it around, making sure all of our food is coated in these digestive juices. And then once we reach the proper acidity and our food is broken down to sufficient amounts, then the sphincter at the bottom of the stomach opens and allows your food to go into the small intestine here. And when it does, these are the main organs of digestion, right? So our mouth, our stomach, our small intestine, our large intestine, but the pancreas and the gallbladder are what we call accessory organs. So they contribute something to the process. So the pancreas secretes additional digestive enzymes. So pancreatic amylase, pancreatic lipase, protease to break down protein again. So again, our pancreas is contributing to that, digestive ball, you could call it, to help digest your food a little bit further. Another key feature here is the pancreas secretes bicarbonate. So this is to combat the super acidic ball of food, essentially, that you just moved from your stomach into your small intestine. And so this is because we don't want to burn our small intestine, right? We just talked about how acidic our stomach contents need to be, but there is a small portion of the small intestine that's almost very much like the stomach, so it's protected by or from that super acidic chyme, just our food contents. And so our pancreas releases bicarbonate to bring that pH up so we don't burn our smaller intestines down the road. So now that we have, that pancreas contributed the bicarbonate and the digestive enzymes, we need to make sure that, the digestive enzymes are also protected by the bicarbonate, because the bicarbonate brings the pH up. It's more neutral, and then those enzymes can function. If we don't have the bicarbonate and we still have that super acidic stomach contents coming into the small intestine, those enzymes won't work. We won't digest our food, and we can also get duodenal ulcers from that as well, from actually burning, from that acid burning our upper small intestine, or duodenum, or duodenum, whichever one you want to call it. And then we have our gallbladder releases bile. So bile is what we use to emulsify or break down fatty foods. So our gallbladder releases bile. Bile is created by the liver, stored in this little pouch in our gallbladder. And then when we ingest fatty foods, our gallbladder is signaled to contract, and it releases that bile into the small intestine to help break down that fat. So again, we can break it down and then absorb it later on. So another thing that can inhibit the gallbladder secreting bile is if we are on a chronically low fat diet. So if it's never stimulated to release this bile, it can quite often get pretty congested. So we do want to have, healthy fats in our diet. So this is a functional, process that's happening regularly. And then now we are in the small intestine. There's 3 parts to the small intestine, but this is the main site of nutrient absorption. So this is when we're bringing our food into our body. It has a lot of villi. So if you ever took a biology class, that's where you have like the little finger projections all over your small intestine. And that's to increase the surface area. So we have more surface area to pull that food across that border into our body and absorb as much nutrition as we can from our food, right? And so the small intestine, we are absorbing a lot of our food, and then we eventually move down to the large intestine. The large intestine is the major site for bacteria. So this is when you hear people talk about the microbiome, this is the main site, is your large intestine or your colon. So a lot of the bacteria in this part of the digestive tract is actually giving us even more nutrition. So by the time our food gets to our large intestine, we've gotten most of what we can out of it. We're still going to do some, this is the largest site for water absorption. So we are still going to get some water, a couple more vitamins and minerals at this stage, but our bacteria start to work. So some of the things that we can't digest, so say some plant fibers, our bacteria can. And so they'll produce, vitamin K2 and some other vitamins and nutrients from that fiber, and then we get those byproducts. So I hope that makes sense. We feed them good bugs by giving them lots of fiber, and then we get some vitamin K2 and other nutrients from that as well. And those nutrients help nourish the colonic cells, and so we create a nice healthy colon. And who doesn't want a healthy colon? And then from that, we release all that stuff from waste, because a lot of that is toxins. Fun fact, a lot of toxins are stored in the bile, because it's made from the liver. So the liver is a big site for detoxification. So some toxins that it's trying to either get rid of or package or whatever will be packaged in bile. And then that fiber, so bile is released into the small intestine. Hopefully we're having lots of fiber-rich foods, and fiber will bind onto that either excess cholesterol, or which is in bile, and then carry that all the way out, and we secrete it as waste as well. So that's why people say eat a lot of whole grains to help lower your cholesterol. Those whole grains have a lot of fiber, they grab onto bile, which has cholesterol in it, and they pull it out and you excrete it as waste. So fun fact for that. So but going to the bathroom every day, like I talked about this week in our videos, is crucial to helping us detox. So if you are feeling, clogged up and crappy and just haven't been eating well or whatever, and you feel like you need a detox, you don't necessarily need a juice cleanse. You need to poop every day. So making sure that this process happens is so crucial. I can't emphasize that enough. But also, hopefully this tells you that there's a lot of work we can do. So if you're having problems at the large intestine, aka not pooping every day, look farther up. Are you calm when you're eating? Are you drinking enough water so that your colon doesn't have to absorb too much water out of it so you can actually go to the bathroom every day? Are you chewing your food enough? Are you, is your stomach okay? Is it, secreting enough of the HCl and pepsin and all of that stuff so it can actually break down your food? Is your digestive tract moving? So if we're having a problem up here, maybe look at least one step upstream, if not all the way up at the top of the brain. So lots of free tips that you can work on, or free things that you can work on that don't cost anything before we start investing in supplements. Supplements can definitely help. Maybe just sit down, chew your food a little bit more, drink some water, and maybe that'll help. Fun fact about staying hydrated: try to drink your water in between meals, because like I just said, our HCl and our pepsin that's digesting our food at our stomach, if we dilute that with water, it won't have the same power as if it was concentrated. I hope that makes sense. So this is acid, right, in your stomach. If we dilute that acid, it's less powerful. So try to have, plenty of water in your day, but try to put it in between meals. I just don't want you to drink like a giant 40-ounce thing with your meal. So try to space your water in between your meals, and that will help digestion as well. So I hope that helps you with a basic overview of how digestion should work and a couple ways that it can go wrong.